Jain is a writer who has written for many different magazines, including the Pulse magazine, as well as many esteemed and well-established business magazines. She has inspired many people to have motivation for writing and is clearly an excellent speaker when we're announcing a book launch. She is currently also working on a poetry book, which we will be very excited to hear about very shortly. So less about me, and now we'll pass on to Aadhyatm Jain. So over to you.
Pranam everyone. First of all, I want to just start by congratulating Aadhyatma. It is such a fantastic achievement to have written a book. I mean, at any age, but at such a young age is even more impressive. So I think he deserves a big round of applause for bringing you here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about writing, which is really what this evening is all about. So my name is Aadhyatm Jain, and I work as a writer and a marketing person, and I have been doing writing for longer than I care to remember, but I've done lots of different types of writing, and I want to talk to you a little bit about different ways of writing as well. So I don't want you to think of writing as always being about writing a book, which is fantastic in itself, but there are many different ways that you could write if that inspires you. So I'm going to talk about two different parts of it. One is, why should you write? Okay, many of you might just be saying, you know, I don't enjoy writing, I don't want to write, and why do I need to? And then the other thing I'll talk to you a little bit about is, if you do want to do it, if in some way you feel inspired, where do you start and how do you go about it? And at any point, if you feel you want to ask any questions, or you have some points of your own, please feel free to have a conversation and ask and mention. So why write? There are many reasons to write that. The best reason I have found ever, if any of you want to start writing, is to express yourself. That should be your first and foremost reason. It should not be thinking about your career. It should not be about your teachers. It should not be about mom and dad. It should not be for money. It should, the first reason should be because you're thinking you want to express yourself. The other thing that writing really achieves is that it helps you communicate with people and share ideas. So if you, for example, would read Aadhyatma's book, it's a way that he has mentioned to us, he's here now. It's a way that he has shared with us what he thinks about the world in whichever way, whether it's fiction, non-fiction. So it gives us the chance to also hear somebody else's ideas. So it's a good way to share ideas with the world. It's very useful to do well in school. If you can write well, it's not just useful for if you are in creative writing or in English, it's useful for any subject. So even if you're writing geography or you're writing a history essay, it's useful to be able to write well and get your points across. Yeah, you want to come up? You wanna sit? Do you want to sit down until we finish? You want to stand here? Okay. Should I finish talking? Yes, that's a good idea. Should I sit in the inside? Yeah. Okay. And also, writing is good for you if you want to just clear your thinking. Sometimes just being able to write on a piece of paper, if you want to think about, why should mommy and daddy get me a dog? Okay, so if you write down on a piece of paper all the different reasons that you think they should be getting you a dog, it helps you clarify your arguments and make a very strong case when you do get to speak to them. So these are some of the reasons. Also, it's really good for your mental health. If you're worrying about something, you're not sure how you're feeling about, maybe you had a fight with a friend, or maybe you didn't do that well as you thought in school. Sometimes just writing down your thoughts also helps. So there are many, many benefits of writing. And it's a very good way, whether you share it eventually with anyone or not, it's a very good positive exercise to do for yourself, both in terms of your work, but also in terms of your personal life. So how do you go about it, right? Everyone's telling you to write. Teachers are giving you essays and comprehension, and then you have all these other schoolwork things to do. And mom and dad are saying, look at Aadhyatma, he's written a book, and you can at least at the very least write a story. So where do you start? Okay. One of the first things I would highly recommend, I personally do it, and I won't recommend anything that I don't do, is try writing a journal. Okay, it's something really simple. You wake up in the morning, or if you are somebody like me who wakes up late and is rushing for work in school, in the evening, at last thing that you do before you go to bed, write a journal. Don't have to write very complicated stuff. It doesn't have to be pearls of wisdom. You're only writing 1 page, 2 pages. Set yourself how much you want to write. I write 3 pages every morning. You can write any amount, but fix it and write. And you can write anything. You can write, I don't know what to write. And I'm writing this because I have promised myself I will do this. Okay. You can write as good, as bad, as messy, as neat as we feel like. You don't have to share this with anyone. It is just the practice of putting pen to paper. Ideally, pen to paper, not finger to computer, if you can help it, because the act of writing by hand is also very important. So just do this, make it a practice, try and do it every day, no matter whether you have to go for, I don't know, football or cricket or singing classes or JVB, wherever you have to find that 20 minutes in the day and do it every day. So that's my first tip to you. The other thing I would say for writing is write every day, but don't overthink it, okay? Even if you're trying to write something meaningful, you're trying to write a story, don't worry too much about what people will think about it. Will they like it? Should I use this word? You know, is my friend going to laugh at this? Is this something which anybody would read? Don't worry, write from your heart, okay? Write whatever's coming to you. If it means something to you, it's worth writing it down, okay? Don't try and impress anyone with your writing. They will be impressed if you are being genuine in what you're writing, okay? So always be genuine and don't imagine anybody else reading it. And actually, coming to that, you can share what you write, but if you don't want to share what you write, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel pressure, even if someone's saying to you, you write every day, what are you writing? Show it to me. They try and pull it out of your hand, or mom and dad are curious. You don't have to share it with anyone, okay? If you want to share it, that's great as well. So feel free either way. But at the end of the day, it's your personal writing. So you don't have to think about what the outcome of it would be. The other thing is don't judge it yourself too much, okay? So it's one thing to have other people not reading it and therefore not judging you, but also don't always tell yourself, this is rubbish. Why am I writing this? I shouldn't be saying this. This doesn't make sense, okay? Just go with the flow. Trust it. Trust the process, okay? And then one of the things that a lot of our teachers tell us, and I don't think that doesn't work for me, I don't know if it works for any of you, is you don't have to start at the beginning. Okay, if you want to write a story, you don't have to start with this was the scene, this was the place, this was the person, this is how he looked, this is how he walked. It doesn't have to start from there. You may just suddenly have a brilliant idea about something's happening in the bathroom, and I'm gonna talk about this. Start from wherever. You can start from the middle of the story. You can start from the end of the story. Okay, you can start from anywhere. And then you fill in the blanks. Then if you've got the end, then start writing the beginning or the middle, however it's coming to you. You can leave paragraphs, you can come back and write them. That's the beauty of writing. There's no one to tell you which order to do it. If you sing a song, you kind of have to sing from the beginning to the end. But if you're writing a story, you don't have to write it beginning to end. You can write it in any which way. Eventually, it will all make sense. Okay? So don't worry about the order. And the one thing that you do need to do, a little bit of work everyone has to do in whatever choice of art or work that we decide to do, you need to read. So I know this is horrible. My kids hate me for saying this. I say it every day to them. You need to read. Okay, the more you read, the better you can write. I don't know how many books, Aadhyatm, you've read. Have you read quite a lot? Yes. So that's one of the things, that the words come to you the more you read. You can read anything. You don't have to read fiction if you're trying to write fiction. You can read the newspaper. You can read websites. You can read, you like the encyclopedia, you can read poetry, you can read any kind of, you can read letters. There are lots of beautiful letters out there. Anything that strikes you, feel free to read. But the more you read, the more you can write. And don't think that if you read, you're going to end up copying what other people are saying. You're not. You're going to have your own thoughts, but it will inspire you to have those thoughts. Okay, so read anything that catches your fancy. Observe people. Okay, right now, like I'm looking at all of these kids over here, and one of these kids who's gotten back towards me, and this could become a character in my next story, right? So observe people, always take an interest in what people are saying, how they're expressing, where they're looking, what might they be thinking. Maybe you're sitting in a restaurant getting bored because your food hasn't come. Instead of looking at your plate, look around you, look at what people are doing, what conversations could they be having, imagine. Imagine when you go to somewhere beautiful on these lovely holidays, absorb the scenery, think about it. Think about 2 sentences or ways of describing what you're seeing. So just use your words to express what's happening around you. The more you look around you, one rule in my house is the kids are not allowed to use a phone when they're in the car. So that's because I want them to look at the world. So the more you can see people around you, the more you are going to be able to write about them. If I tell you to paint a vase, everyone's seen a vase, so you should be able to paint a vase. But if I tell you to paint Eiffel Tower, if you haven't seen Eiffel Tower, you're going to find it really hard to paint it. So you have to be able to see people and see things around you in order to write about them. So make sure you're observing with your eyes wide open. Enter stuff, okay? So don't be shy about, schools have lots of competitions, the internet's full of ideas about where you can enter stuff. The BBC is constantly running things. Enter things. It's really satisfying to be able to see that you've done something, you've accomplished a piece of writing and you're entering it into something. It doesn't have to be the best piece of writing. You may win, you may not win, but being focused and working on something is really fantastic way of practicing. It's like if you're a footballer and you never actually go to a final match, you just practice in your backyard. You're never going to become really good at football. Yeah, so you need to really put yourself out there, find out activities that are happening. I'm sure your parents will be very happy to help you with this. Schools give you lots of ideas. So take these ideas and enter your writing, a poem, anything you feel like, but enter it. Connect with other people who like writing. So if you find other friends, somebody else, maybe not your best friend even, but somebody else in school who likes to write, and maybe the two of you just say, okay, fine, every Thursday we're going to get together for an hour. You do your writing, I do my writing, but we sit together and we write. And that could be quite a fun way to have a friend and to connect with people, but you're doing it while you're doing something which you enjoy, because otherwise you can be quite lonely writing. I find that sometimes that I feel like I've just sat in front of my computer for hours and I haven't spoken to anyone or seen anyone. So if you can find somebody else who's also interested, could be someone older or younger, doesn't have to be your immediate friend. It's really nice to have some company. And then don't worry about having a perfect piece of work, and always, sometimes I see when kids are writing, you're trying to be, or even I'm writing, you try to get every sentence right before you move on to the next sentence, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Write whatever comes to you. Write a paragraph. It doesn't have to be the tidiest paragraph. Come back to it later, and you will find that, you later on maybe have a better way of looking at it. When you finish writing, it's a little bit like baking a cake. You leave it in the oven. So don't write 1 minute before you have to send it to someone. Leave it for a day, let it bake in the oven, which is your drawer or your table or your computer, if you've written on a computer, and come back to it the next day with a fresh pair of eyes, with a fresh thought, with a fresh mind. You'll see there are lots of things which made sense to you the previous day, and now you might want to re-edit it slightly, tidy it up a little bit more. And then it's ready. It's ready to share, it's ready to cut the cake and send it off to, whether you're sending it for a competition, you're submitting it in school, you're sharing it with your parents, you're keeping it in your own personal diary to read later for whatever purpose. You'll find that the next day is really when any written work is actually ready to share. So that's it. If anybody has any particular questions about writing or how to write or why to write, feel free to ask me now or catch me after this. But otherwise, with your permission. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ambikaji. That was an incredible speech. Personally, it reminded me about why I like writing so much. And during my entire schooling years, I think what got me through it was writing. And, those poems, I will never go back to them because they were horrendous, but it really helped me during that period of time. So I would really recommend writing as an outlet. You can do it absolutely anywhere where you are. You can do it on the train, you can do it on your coach home, you can do it on the bus, wherever. It's very portable. You can read anywhere as well, and it really will help you get you through it. And it's just such a good outlet. So thank you, and thank you for those tips as well, because I think a lot of us adults as well, we don't find the time to write. We don't realize why, you should find an outlet to do something and release your emotions, your stress, etc. So I think those are really good tips that not only the kids, but we can use as well. So thank you. Now we're going to hear from Amit Bhai Mehta. So Amit Bhai is actually,
Amit Bhai actually owns an incredible organization which has been founded after many, many years of working within the finance industry, within working in very well-established businesses, after which he established his own business. And what this business or not-for-profit organization actually does, it looks at schools who may be suffering, who may be within like dire times, who may be requiring assistance and help, and his team of over 500 people, they go in and they offer that assistance, they offer that help, and they help re-establish these businesses and these schools, which are so important for students, rather than those students having to, move out, find new schools. All of you kids know how much you love your friends and how much you love that system that you already have, and they really help cement that organization, and they help it keep thriving so that people and the students and their families' lives aren't disrupted. So currently there's over 19 different schools, correct me if I'm wrong, but 19, I believe, different schools and nurseries and independent schools that his organization have really helped, bring back to life. So less from me now, and over back on to Amit Ji. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It fills me with so much joy and happiness to see such young talent, especially in our community. There's such an amazing book, and it's very, very inspirational. Very, very inspirational for us to see. And I entered the educational. I'm not going to talk to you about writing, because I think because said everything I could, and there's nothing else I can add. Thank you. But from my perspective, one of the key things I see from children who go to the top universities, and I will tell you a little about our organization. We have boarding schools, we have secondary schools. One of the key ingredients to get into successful universities is reading and writing. There's one common thread. Children who read a lot are those who really propel. There's no doubt about it. And I can tell you from my own experience, my children don't really like reading, and I then have to try and see how do I encourage them to. And then, so I'll talk about Rahul, my son. If any reason not to read, he'd love to go and play sports, he'd love to go and do other things, but I try to find a trend. I said, okay, fine, what do you enjoy? He said, I love basketball. Okay, who are the key players in basketball? LeBron, and so, okay, fine, let's go look at his history. How did he get it? And so sometimes it's not necessarily just picking a book because the school's told you to. It's picking something which really interests you, and everybody has some interest. It's trying to identify what really interests you. Because if you find that interest, you'll absolutely enjoy reading, and it won't be a chore. You won't stop reading because you want to learn more. And then when you start that journey, you want to learn more, because then there'll be another book. There's somebody else who might inspire you. Sometimes it's autobiography, sometimes people's own history. So I'm not going to talk, as I said, I'm not going to talk to you about reading and writing, but I would say my only advice is find something of interest to you. I know that I did that for my son, and that's exactly how he then started then exploring more. Talking about schools, thank you for the summary. Yes, I'm in the educational sector. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I entered the educational sector 2014. There was three schools which unfortunately, going back a tag, unfortunately in 2013, I'd lost my wife to cancer, and at that time my children were only 5 and 6. I was always out and about working everywhere, and also now I had to take the responsibility of helping them and educating them. And I wasn't very good at it, so I thought, let me just buy some schools to be easier. So no, jokes aside, there was 3 schools which were struggling, and something that resonated with me for my children were their schooling, no matter what turmoil was at home. Maybe I'm pitching at the parents a little more. No matter what turmoil at home, the schools are so important for the children, because that's their only stability, their comfort zone. And that's what I had learned very clearly in my own personal life. That's when these 3 schools that came up, I ended up buying them, because if I didn't buy them, I was given 2 months otherwise they're going to shut them down. because sometimes property values are greater than schools. And I said, look, I've been in so many different sectors. I'm going to make these successful. I went into these schools and I said, schools are the most inspiring environments ever. But having said that, I'm not a strong follower of foreign systems. And therefore, I kind of think that sometimes the school sector has not moved. It's still very much a teacher stands in front of a group of children, telling them what to do, following this process. But every other industry has changed. Whether you talk about cars, you talk about cars in the 1970s, they didn't have electric windows, didn't have sunroof, all of those were additional. Now everything became bespoke. Now you can choose your wheel color, you can choose, but this sector has not changed. And it's actually quite worrying for me. And that's something which I'm working on as now owning a group of schools as a voice in the educational sector, that actually we need to move. We need to find things which interest the children. How do we encourage them to, find their passion? You find their passion, then they'll end up learning naturally. And they'll find, they don't need to be a doctor. They don't need to be a pharmacist. They don't need to be what we've been told. Let them find their passion. If they find their passion, they will be fantastic at whatever they do. So put them in environments. So if you talk about reading or you talk about writing, give them as much exposure. That's my only say. Give them as much exposure, whether it's in traveling or experiences, and find what is their passion. If you can help identify their unique ability and their own passion, like as I said with this young man, it's amazing. And it's absolutely brilliant that he's found his passion and he's been able to deliver it. So going back to my situation, I bought these schools and I said, for me, schools are such an important environment from a stability perspective. And that was my journey. My mission is easy to take over schools which are successful, but it's extremely hard to take over schools which have lost their way. They've been there for 100 years, but just lost their way for a period of time. That doesn't mean you give up. It's like our life. Our life is not a straight line. It's never going to always be steady. But there may be points in time where there is going to be ups and downs. That doesn't mean you give up. And the same thing with our children's education or their knowledge is, my only point is don't compare. That's a very dangerous game. Every child, acknowledge them, encourage them, support them, and help them find their passion. If you help them find their passion, they will be successful at whatever they do. So yes, going back to from my perspective, I've got nurseries, I've got prep schools, I've got secondary schools, boarding schools, and I see the whole spectrum from babies till 18, and I see it time in, time out. And I'm a big advocate of how do we change this system. We have to change. And so don't follow what other people are telling you to do. Work with your children and help them, find what's of interest to them. I'm going to keep it short. I know we've got a lovely speech to come. So well done. Really proud of you. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Marham, thank you very much for that lovely speech. It was, as I mentioned earlier, I know how important schools are. I think school was probably my favorite place to be when I was growing up. And I know for a lot of kids here as well, school is their favorite place with their favorite teachers, with their favorite friends. So it's actually quite incredible, helping rejuvenate these schools and these systems. Now, over to the writer and the star of the day, Aadhyatm. So I know you have quite a few things prepared for us, so I'm just going to hand it straight over to you. But just as an introduction, Aadhyatm is 8 years old. He has just published his first book, with perhaps many more to come. And he has been an avid member of JVP Gyanshala for many years. I remember, when we first started in COVID, it would be Aadhyatm and his little sister joining online on Zoom. And he'd always be putting his hands up and he'd always be the first one to answer the question. So I'm not even surprised that he managed to write a first book at such a young age. So over to you.
भगवान महावीर को नमन, गुरुदेव को नमन, वंदामि नमस्कार, Om Aram everyone. First of all, I would like to thank both communities for their love and support.
Yes.
They
It will get.
they inspire me every day throughout their hard work. I would also like to thank my JVB teachers for their support and guidance. Learning Bhaktamar 2 years ago has given me confidence and support throughout my life, and I would carry that throughout my life. And that I would like to stop. So first I would like to tell you about my story. Then first I would like to tell you about my story, and then I would read some bits and ask some questions. So this book is about a young boy called Jack Watsen, and he has to redeem Gralius from Zayn, who is the evil wizard. He lives in an island called Gralius, which is in the Pacific Ocean. The beautiful island was captured by evil four-headed sorcerer Zayn, and he set the island on war because he wanted to rule the whole planet. All the healthy humans died, including Jack's parents. Jack promised his father that he would free Gralius from Suzanne and would soon gain victory. But what price does he have to pay? Pay. So you have to read my book to find out.
Yeah.
So I got this idea. So after climbing the 3 peaks, I started reading some books, and I thought that I should write a book. So I asked my dad if I could write a book. He said, yes, why not? But it would take a lot of work. I said that I'm not afraid of hard work, and I could do it. So after this hard work, after this year, here's my book. So I had to, before writing my book, I had to go to creative writing classes and workshops to improve my writing, and because at that time my writing was not so great. And then after a period of time, I started writing my stories. So I didn't get ideas so quickly. Whatever came to my mind, I just typed it down. After some days, I thought my book would be done and it would be published the very next day. And when I told this to my dad, he laughed and said that this was just the beginning. He pointed out as a mistake, and there were grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes, spelling errors, and logical errors. I was telling all of it and not showing it off. Editing was probably the hardest part. Working with the Illustrators were even harder. I was telling something else, they were drawing something else. But some of the illustrations came out pretty nice. For example, one of the illustrations didn't even have the scar. But I'm fine with that. So now is the time to take questions.
No, do you want to read something from your book?
Did you know that many oranges are green off the man? He kept on telling the useless fact until Jack knocked him up to keep him quiet. Now Jack had to crack the code to open the metallic door. There were 3 buttons, red, green, and purple, but only one would unlock the door. It had a clue written above its code. Heck, let's talk to now. Jack rearranged the letters. It spelled the purple button, all jumbled up together. He pressed it and click, the door opened. They found a path leading to the garden of the palace. It was a black garden, as every single leaf, plant, and flower was black. They made their way to Suzanne's courtyard, and they were surprised to see that no one was there to stop them.
Yep. That's it.
It was a pleasant sunny day, and everybody was going to the beach, including Jack and his team. But when they reached it, the landscape was a strange sight. There were items such as balls and umbrellas, mats and chairs all around, but no people. Was there no one here? Travis puzzled. There seems to be some danger around here, replied Jack. Stay alert. They searched the whole beach for clues. Jack's eye caught an unusual conch with a golden cap. His tiger sense suggested that something wasn't right. Suddenly, a huge, shape-shifting giant red squid came out of the conch. It had 100 tentacles and one new orange eye. Oh. Now is the time to take questions.
Did at any point of view you want to stop writing? And if
Yeah.
yes, how did you feel?
Yes, an ideal was that my dad encouraged me to move on, and he gave me a pat on my back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I basically started reading books, and then I saw the name of authors on books, and I wanted my name as well.
Now it is.
So I got the idea of it by I just got beats in my mind. Wrote them down.
What is your message to your, the other young kids, right? Your friends, the other young kids. What's your message? What's you want to give it to them?
I don't understand.
No, is there any message do you want to give anyone want to write a book? What's your message?
I would say just first do free writing. Just write whatever comes to your mind. Then you can edit it. First of all, when it comes to editing, just look for the punctuation mistakes and all the other small mistakes. And then you can put logical errors and show them down.
How many publishers do you have to send it to before it was accepted?
No, this was self-published.
Oh,
We didn't send it for this. Right? It's a lot of work for me.
The answer for that.
Yeah, I can take up later.
Okay.
So did you have any like timings in like everyday routine that you would sit and write? Like, was it a routine that particular time of day you will write or anything sort of that?
So when I started writing, I would just after school I would come to get ready and write, and then after that I would just edit for the whole day.
I would like to add to that. You had particular time, but sometimes the creative writing, it's a creative thing, right? Sometimes ideas just flow. So what happened is we had to kind of let him be on himself. We would take a hit on his studies and allow him to do things which he was doing. For example, one day he was studying, he was writing, and he was in a flow. I mean, he was really writing at 12 o'clock. Mom was worried. Tomorrow is school. No, you're not sleeping. She's saying, go sleep. And he was writing. I said, what if he doesn't sleep? Let him write. He said, no, he can't go to school. So I said, if he can't go to school one day, what happens? Nothing will change in the world, right? I mean, but he doesn't write. He won't get this flow tomorrow. So if he's in a flow, let him write. And he wrote till 6 a.m. that day. He was just awake writing till 6 a.m. He was just in flow writing. He finished a lot of editing. So just have to let it be. If you try to put kids in a block, like you have to do this and a frame, they will become the frame. You have to give them freedom. They have so much creativity, so much within them that you can explore when you give them freedom. If you just keep putting time frame that you have to do this and now you have to do this, you have to do this class, then there's no time for them to explore. And that's the time that you have to allow. The schools are important, but you have to see that the school system is slightly broken, as Amit Bhai was saying. So you have to be in the system and find that fine line where you can like break the rules and still be in the system. So that's something that we are trying to see if we can make this happen with him.
But in the beginning, he must have taken some routines, right? In the beginning, if we talk about beginning starting. So was there any time frame to start with, or one hour reading or 1 hour writing something?
No, he was reading on his own. So basically, he reads on his own. There was no time frame. He was just reading. But writing part, we did start his creative writing classes. When he said book, I said your writing is not good. I mean, your creative writing, I saw his skill, it's not there. So we put him to classes. He responded, and he started picking writing on his own. We didn't put a time that you have to write this time. He started picking up slowly, and then he spent a little time, and then he built up slowly on his own as he started enjoying that.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay, I'll just bend. Omar, that was very insightful. Yes, big Omar hug to you. Omar hug. I think because of timing. Yes. Okay. Yeah, go. Yeah, okay.
Last question.
Apart from just learning that you've just written a book, I also hear that you climbed 3 peaks at such a young age. What are the names of the 3 peaks you climbed in the UK?
Castle Pike, Ben Nevis, and Snowdon.
Ben Nevis, Snowdonia?
And Castle Pike.
Wow. And you went just with yourself or with dad or?
I went with my dad, and sometimes they brought some people with me.
Very well done. Very good.
So I think you will all be as inspired as I am by hearing his incredible speech, and your responses to your questions as well were very nice, very inspiring. Thank you. And just as an FYI, we are distributing the Jack Watson books at the end of this JDB program, and Aadhyatma has very, very kindly agreed to donate all proceeds from this book to JDB Ganshala. So a big home to that as well for donating your hard work to JDB. Thank you. But yeah, we will have much more time at the end for questions. Now I'll pass on to Vandamiji if she would like to add anything. Yes, or if Anurag wants to add anything.
भगवान भगवीर को नमन, गुरुदेव के चरणों में नमन, नाम समस्त जी, आप सभी को नमन। Yeah, I think I want to thank JVB and the JVB Gyanshala team especially for giving this. There's a strength that you gain when you feel socially secure, when you feel there's people around you who will appreciate. There's people who are guiding you. If you fail, there is a support. Then you can explore. You can go forward. You do things which is unexplored, and that is the support and security that JVB provides. The Gyanshala team, they work hard. They give their personal time and encourage kids, bring them together, bring competition. Not only Gen values, they teach a lot of life skills. So that a big thank you to whole Gyanshala team and JVP Om Varam. So that's one thing that I really, and actually, Aadhyatm's journey started when 2 years ago, when he learned Bhaktamar at age 6. That gave him a lot of confidence. He said that, and I know how much confidence it gave him to be able to do something that he thought he will never be able to do. So that was a big turning point. He did that, and then next year, when we were doing three peaks, he said, "You can do that, then you can do this." So it kind of keep building on, right? So you do something, and then you keep doing something else. So that's incredible. And basically, we see some EGs, they work so hard, even they're sick, they keep working. They always smile and work, and that's something. If he's down, we say something. Go look at some EG. She was sick, she was still working, and that gives him inspiration. So these are the small things that we take a lot from JVB. So and we feel very fortunate to be part of JVB. I also want to thank Amit Bhai and Ambika ji for being here today and giving such good speeches. Just a bit about the journey that we have been. I'm happy. Of course, I'm happy with what he has done, but I'm not pleased by. But basically, it's not about the result. It's more about what he has done. I think the effort that he has put in, the hard work that he has put in, has been. I'm very pleased with that. He was able to put hard work. He was focused, and he could do what he wanted to do. So there was a challenge. We have to support him a little bit, but yeah, I think he could overcome. All I said, there was a time when he said, "I can't do it. I mean, this is not for me." Editing is hard. I mean, basically, I'm not an author. I can't help him. He's stuck. He's stuck. He asked me what to do. I said, I don't know. So basically, it was kind of hard for him. So he's at one point of time, he said, maybe I cannot do it. And all I said, it is your book, your challenge. You decided you wanted to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I mean, I don't care. I mean, and then he was like, okay, no, I'll do it. So, I didn't like kind of, so it's something that kind of is learning for me. Sometimes I give up and I kind of pick up from it and say, if I can do it, I can do it. So it's kind of both ways. And there's a lot of things that he has, the other thing that I was saying is like, letting them flow is very, very important. Sometimes not putting them into a system is helped him. And the stories, I think first time I read the stories, they were like amazing. The creativity that came in, he built the new language in the book. Their languages, there is a flower name, there's planet names, monster, what they are doing, and the creativity. I was completely blown away by what he put up. So initially, I was not willing to put any effort. When I read the book, I said, okay, fine, this is worth publishing. And then I started putting some effort towards publishing with him. And then actually, somebody asked that why did you not go to publisher? Because we didn't even approach any traditional publisher. I don't know how to approach any publisher. And I just read about how to do self-publish. And there was an author, one author I met. She read the book. She had published some books, and she read the book and she was very impressed. She said, these stories are really good. Need some editing. I can be the editor for these stories. I said, why not? And she edited stories she had, and then we published. So we did self-publish the book, and that's all. With that, I would like to thank. And the last thing that I wanted to say is basically, with this thing, I don't want him to have a burden of writing another thing. He's just started. He's exploring his life, and this is I see spirituality as exploration, and his name is Aadhyatm, which is self-exploration. So and you explore yourself when you challenge yourself, you go to your limits, and that's when you discover yourself. So with that, if he can keep taking up challenges and discover himself and be true to his name, I'll be happy. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anuragji. And yes, Aadhyatma does mean exploration and understanding. So very, very fitting to your name.
आराध्य की श्री चरणों में वंदना, परमाराध्य गुरुदेव की श्री चरणों में वंदना। आदरणीय समी जी, आज विशेष रूप से हमारे बीच में इस परिषद का जो सेंटर ऑफ अट्रैक्शन है, हमारे लिटिल ऑथर अध्यात्म जैन और उनकी फैमिली, जेवीबी ज्ञानशाला भाइयों और बहनों, एवरी चाइल्ड इज स्पेशल। अध्यात्म एक वेरी वेरी स्पेशल चाइल्ड, उसका पैसेंस और इसके भीतर में जो स्थिरता है, समझ है और इमेजिनेशन करने का इनके भीतर में जो स्किल है। हम कभी कभी ऐसा सोचते हैं कि जो हम कल्पना करते हैं तो कल्पना होती है, उसमें कुछ रियलिटी नहीं होती है। लेकिन जो व्यक्ति कल्पना करके कुछ लिखता है, सोच करके कुछ उसको सदा के लिए कुछ कोई शेप देता है, तो उस कल्पना में भी कुछ रियलिटी होती है। और दुनिया में बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो लिख पाते हैं, जो राइटर बन पाते हैं। तो अध्यात्म के इस यात्रा के साथ हमारी अनंत अनंत शुभकामनाएं हैं और कुछ लाइनें इनके लिए हमने लिखी है। कल्पना की कहानियां कोई कोई लिखता है, मन की शक्ति मनुष्य क्या वरदान होता है। बालक बड़ी का अंबार होता है, प्रोत्साहित करे कोई भाग्यवान होता है। धैर्य से बढ़ता रहे सपना साकार होता है। ऋतु अनुराग लगे रहे तभी अध्यात्म बनता है। बचपन श्रम सजा जिंदा इतिहास होता है। जय बीबी भाग्य गुण रही भविष्य निखरता है। समणी जी के भावना हर दिन मंगल होता है, हर दिन अवसर होता है। जो बड़ा काम करते हैं उनके लिए कोई एज नहीं होती। जिस दिन वो शुरू करता है वो ही दिन बड़ा दिन होता है, उसी दिन से उनकी शुरुआत हो जाती है। तो अध्यात्म की शुरुआत बहुत जल्दी हुई है और इनका जीवन बहुत उपलब्धियों भरा रहे, वो सबके लिए प्रेरणा बने और वो हर कदम पर सफल हो। हमारी अनंत अनंत शुभकामना, मंगल कामना और देव गुरु धर्म का, जैन शासन का खूब आशीर्वाद। ओम।
I pay my homage to Bhagwan Mahavir. Today, I think we are saying bye to 2022, but again, we would like to have something special in our hand. And we can see a book in the hand of Aadhyatm. So this book is coming out from his imagination. So I can see the power of peace. I have seen him a peaceful child, always. And sometimes, you see, I ask, you have to do relaxation. Samani, I'm relaxed. Then I say, no, I'm taking some photographs for my presentation and I need your photograph. Do you remember? Yes. So he given brilliant photographs in his natural peace, in relaxation, sitting, standing, and lying. All three poses. So I can see peace is inbuilt there. Am I right, mom and dad? Peace inbuilt there. Okay. Then prayers. He's very, very determined for the prayer and meditation. Every day he used to go and sit, and he does the Om sound as well. So regular prayers and the strength of prayers. You see, if you ask somebody, but he does himself, before going to school, he sit in the temple and does some meditation, some sound meditation and prayers. So miracle of Bhaktamar, I can see through his journey of writing. So peace, prayer, and practice. Practice makes a man perfect. And that comes slowly. Even I remember several times during my PhD, my supervisor said, Pratibha, put your writing in the dustbin, rewrite again and again. And sometime in the middle of my PhD, I thought, no, it is not for me. Let me go back. And then Kuniprigay said, no, don't give up like this. And sometimes, you know, the plateau comes when you write. So it is a journey. Definitely, I agree with you. And that practice, if you do again and again, and writing is not only once, but rewriting, sometimes polishing again and again. So that is the journey. So peace, prayer, and practice. And that is opening the door of prosperity and then success in the lives. So 4 P's. Peace. Kids, can you respond? First P. Second P. Prayer. Third P. And fourth P. Prosperity in all walks of life. In every step, you get success, success, and success. So I would like to bless Aadhyatm, Ritu and Anurag, and his little sister is also there, Amiti. So all 4 members of the family are dedicated towards JVB and some ladies, and we would like to bless that definitely your grooming at JVB through meditation, through Jainism, and through peace loving is most important. And we bless Aadhyatm, Om Arham, Om Arham. Our JVB teachers are doing remarkable work for uplifting and making Jainism on the forefront. And you see, she's a teacher. So how committed? She's studying, she is working and she is here for anchoring this program. So I really like this type of dedication, and she has a exam ahead. So again, I would like to bless Trita and all Gyansala dedicated teachers and parents. Without parents, it is not possible. They are here to see outside so much cold, but they are here. And it is their determination and commitment for the Jainism and for the kids. And kids can have the vibration and environment at JVB that Samnijis are here. So really, I would like to thank you all and Hasubai's committee and all the members who are taking JVB ahead. Om Aadhyatm. Come here. Ambika, still you are here. And Amit, yeah. Just last.
Just whilst taking the photo, I'd just like to say there's two Mercedes outside that I think are blocking Ambikaji's car. So if there's maybe your Mercedes, if you'd like to move them temporarily. Thank you.
आप भी चाहिए ना?
Ambika, yeah.
For everyone.
Yes. Loading the car is over. Big one.
Please, please, please. You all should have one.
You have extra book?
Yeah, I know.
Om Arham.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. It's fine. Yes, yes, we should do the sign.
So thank you everyone for coming today and listening to all the different speakers and Aadhyatma for his amazing book. Just to announce that at the end, Aadhyatma's parents and family have also arranged some light refreshments at the back. And we will also be selling the book as well as signed versions of this book are also available for whoever does want them. So after the Mangal Part, please make your way to the back of the hall. Oh, I
Hold your hands in prayer pose. Kevali Pannattu Chattari Lokuttama Arhanta Lokuttama Siddha Lokuttama Sadhu Lokuttama Kevali Pannattu Tammo Lokuttamo Chattari Saranam Pavajjami Arhanti Saranam Pavajjami Siddhi Saranam Pavajjami Sadhu Saranam Pavajjami Kevali Pannatam Saranam Pavajjami.
हम सब आपके बारे कृतज्ञस्मि हम सब आपके बारे कृतज्ञस्मि हम सब आपके बारे वंदनामि स्वामी